Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. I know it's been a while, but I'm going back to work on the tow truck. It's already been a long day. We started early, had some other projects, but I've got to get this thing further along and try to get it at least functional. We've got so many plans for this thing, and some of them are going to take a while, and we gotta get it going and use it and before we get to that. But last time we cut the bed in half. I cut these panels out last night. This bed was extremely rough, really bad shape. It's been cut and extended. Like, the bed is longer than the original bed was. This thing's had so much work done to it already. I was this close to scrapping the entire bed and just custom building everything, but there's still a lot of steel here that's good. There's a lot of structure here that's good, and right now I don't have the funding to custom build the entire bed, so we're gonna put this one back together. We're gonna make it work for now, and maybe version 2 of this truck, because this thing's probably gonna take on no telling how many iterations before it's actually done, if it's ever done. But we're gonna roll with the bed for now. If I can get it welded back and get it good enough to make me happy. If not, I'll end up scrapping it anyway and coming up somehow to build this otherwise. But I'm gonna pick up that piece, get it set on here. I've got to clean up some rust on it, some other stuff, got several things to do, and hopefully we'll get this bed welded up and back on the truck, because Arkansas Off-Road Recovery needs to happen. If you want one of these shirts, go to 3strandapparel.net. You can get a shirt, help support us. You can also get Tracer Customs shirts, help support Tracer Customs. We got a lot of projects, a lot of our own projects going on, plus some other stuff going on. I come up with way too many ideas, and that is a problem. But anyway, let's get to work on the wrecker and see how far we can get. Alright, so got the bed back sitting on the truck. Now I've just decided that this is looking pretty good, and I don't even think I need to weld this. I just put 4 self-tappers in here to screw it down to the frame, and I think the bed will be good now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the wrecker boom back on, and then I think it'll be pretty much done. Just kidding, just kidding. I did put some self-tappers in it, but that's just because I need to find out. This bed is so warped and beat up, it's going to be really difficult. Our cuts aren't the straightest on here. It's going to be a pain to get this welded back up, so I got to get it as straight as I can, lined up as best I can. May have to reinforce some stuff, but I'm figuring out how I'm going to get this on here. But the first thing I need to do while I've got it here is I need to find out if this is going to be enough clearance on our wheel wells. So I'm going to take it outside and flex it out a little bit and see how close we are to hitting, because before we were having issues with the inside hitting. Now this won't be 100% accurate because we don't have a load on it. When we've got a bunch of weight on this, we're towing something out and then we flex. That's going to compress the suspension some more. We will probably put airbags on top of the leaf springs, so we'll be able to help with some of that when we're loaded. But I need to get a rough idea. Is this even close? I think it's going to be okay. We've got quite a bit of space there, but I just want to see. So let's take it out to the loading dock and flex it out. Alright, so we got it up here a little bit. She's flexed a little bit, you know. Still got some space in there, probably not much not much space for turning on the front. We're gonna do some front end work. Obviously the softer springs on the front end are flexing a lot more than the back end, but right now there's plenty of space. Now obviously this spring, it's compressed some, but it could be compressed quite a bit more, but we can always limit that with bump stops or airbags. So now you can see where the factory bump stop is there. It's still got a lot of space, and it could keep coming back some more. Front wheel's not off the ground yet. It might compress that some more, but I think we're good on clearance. So I think we'll go ahead and roll in this direction if I can make this bed line up and weld back together like I want. So I was just curious, see what it would do. Actually not too bad for a old independent front suspension GMC pickup. I really like this truck. We may make this recovery vehicle number 2 at some point. Do a solid axle swap on this thing. Maybe put 1 tons under it, and then turn it into a secondary recovery rig with a built-out bed for doing service and stuff. It'd be sweet. Something will happen with this truck. I love the short wheelbase, regular cab, short bed, 4-wheel drive. It's where it's at. All right, back in here, and I'm gonna have to pull the bed back off because we got a few things to adjust. One is there's a little lip. You can't really see it. There's a lip under here that's making the bed kick up on that side a little bit, so it's making it run downhill on both sides. So I need to pull it off, get that cut off so that it'll sit flush, and then really thinking about chopping off from here right in this area all the way up on the front and just saving the back part of this bed. Because this front part, some of this is going to go anyway. It's super rough, all mangled. This part's pretty rough, and some of it's almost not usable, but at the same time, we're also got a ton of customization to do right in this front area. We're gonna have a winch sitting right here, probably above the gas tank, that's fastened into the frame on both sides. That goes out the side eventually. Maybe some low toolboxes here if we can pull it off. We're also gonna have rock sliders here. So we got a lot of stuff that's gonna be going in here. We're gonna be bringing our exhaust up in stacks up high so that it's never gonna get underwater. So there's a lot of stuff going on the front of this, and of course the boom sits right here where these holes are at, sits right there. So there's a lot going on with the front of this bed, and I'm thinking about just chopping some of this kind of junky stuff off and custom building all of that to fit what we need, because we're just going to keep chopping and chopping and chopping because of how much customization we're going to do on the front of that. Main thing I want out of the bed is the structure of the sides as much as I can. I want these wheel wells, I want this diamond steel, and I want this big back plate. And then if the back plate ends up being more than we want down the road, then we'll probably scrap the whole thing out, maybe pull those fenders and a few other pieces off of it, and then build an all custom back end. But I really like the protection on the back end. We've got room to stick another winch up underneath here, 2 side winches. We got the winch on the boom. We'll have a second winch on the boom down low. So just thinking ahead of how we've talked about building this and trying to figure out how we're going to piece it all together, what I need to say with this. So let's pull it off again, and then I'm going to do some chopping. Alrighty, I am liking how this is coming together. Everything's fitting better. We got lots of space here to custom build this and tie back in. We got a cross brace that's going right here already, so it's right at this edge. I may take this back a couple more inches. Not 100% sure how some of this is going to come together yet, so I may get trimmed a little bit more, but I'm going to make that one match the same. I'm liking where this is going. I think this is gonna work out. So pull the other side off, make it match. Alrighty guys, I got the other one cut down. It's on there and it's getting late. I'm gonna call it a night. I'll probably come back to this tomorrow or the next day. See you then. Alrighty guys, I'm back. It's been a couple days, but I'm back. Going back to work on the wrecker. Tim pulled the bed off for me yesterday, so it's out of the way because I had to add in. I've added in this big steel plate here so we can actually throw a gooseneck bowl on here if we need to. I don't expect we'll need to, probably maybe ever, but I got the plate in there just in case we need to throw a gooseneck on this thing just to get it out of something or whatever. So that's in there. And then these are part of the bracing that's going to be welded onto the bottom of the bed. So this C-channel across here is bolted in here. These are going to be welded to the C-channel, so we're creating our bed infrastructure. So I'm going to weld these up, and then it'll be time to clean this up, get this back on here, and start getting it straight, tacked in place, and welded up. I'm at least going to get this welded up tonight. We'll see how much I get to that today. I'm just working on this when I have time, so it's a piece here, it's a piece there, but we'll get it eventually. That was easy. Those are all welded in place now. Now there's one more thing I think I need to do before I put the bed on here. The back end of the frame here, so we chopped this frame in one of the earlier videos. We chopped this frame 18 inches from the length it used to be. So it's right where the rear leaf spring mount is at right now, is where the frame's chopped. And this is just a C-channel. Eventually I'm gonna box the rest of this frame, but I don't know when. I don't think it's super critical right now, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I am worried about the way this C-channel is all floating down here with the leaf spring on it. I'm afraid of this bending right here somewhere, bending out from this. Is all welded solid up here with this 3-inch tubing, so this is all welded and held, but there's nothing across the bottom here. There's no bracing across the bottom other than, you know, the springs, and those are obviously on bushing. So I'm going to actually take a plate and go from the bottom all the way, probably part way up this, and plate off this entire back end, weld all this up with one big plate across here to tie this entire back end together. Now this bed is going to be sitting down there, and obviously that's got a big plate on it, but that plate is not going to be welded to the frame. It's going to be welded to this C-channel, because this bed is going to be removable. Is my goal is to be able to unbolt the bed, pull it off in case we need to work on anything, need to rebuild anything. I'm going to try to make the bed and the boom where we can unbolt the boom, remove it, unbolt the bed, and take it off. That's my goal. We'll see if it works out that way. Sometimes I think it'd be a lot easier to just weld everything permanent, but I like to be able to undo things and put them back. So that's why this infrastructure is all going on here, and then it bolts through here, here, there, and there into this structure that is welded to the frame. The frame's boxed up there. Eventually we'll box the rest of this, just not yet. So let's get a plate cut out, add that in there, then we'll be ready for the bed, I think.
Yeah!
Alright guys, I've got this all boxed up, welded on the inside. These are welded in, that's welded on. Everything here, I think, is ready to throw the bed back on and start getting it positioned and welded in place to this. I think. I'm gonna go ahead and throw, I think both of these, maybe one, maybe both, back on, see how everything's looking, and then probably call it a night for tonight. Alright, it's back on. Sure that didn't look like much work to you, but it was a little bit of work. Okay. Well, I think I'm done for tonight. It's getting late. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. Next thing is welding this bed back together and fastening it down to that subframe that we've kind of built under there. So I think I'm going to call it a night. Come back to this as soon as I have time. All right, guys, back this evening on the wrecker, and I'm just going to pick up where I left off, which I'm ready to weld this bed back up. So I need to clean some of this up, knock some rust off of it, and try to get this thing lined up and get the tail end of this thing is straight across here. It's got to get it lined up straight and then start tacking it back together. Then I'll probably pull the whole thing off once I get it tacked all over the place and some welds done. Then I'll probably pull it off so I can flip it over and weld it from underneath. So should be interesting. Got a lot of work to do. This is gonna be a little bit of a pain, but we'll get it done. All right, guys, I've been trying to get this thing lined up and it's been a pain. It's gonna continue to be a pain. I've got massive gaps that are gonna have to be welded. This has a big gap, especially up top. Unfortunately, I didn't have a really nice metal cutting circular saw when we cut this. Otherwise, we'd probably have a lot better lines. But we did most of this with a grinder, I think. So it's not the straightest. It's going to be a pain. That's why I almost scrapped the entire bed. And I've been dreading trying to line this up. I knew it was going to be difficult when we cut it in half, but I really needed this bed narrowed. So it's going to be basically the same width as the cab now. So I really needed it to be narrowed. But it's been a pain to do. So I'm going to try to start tacking some of this. This metal is also all kinds of warped, so it's going to be interesting. I'm still not even 100% sure this is going to work, but let's try to start tacking some things together and straighten it, tacking it and getting it straight as best I can as I go, and we'll see what happens. We'll make it work one way or another. Alright, got a few tacks in there. I'm going to go ahead and weld this back plate up all the way because the back plate being straight is one of the most important things. And then the rest of it I'll make match. This needs to be straight. The rest of it I can tweak around and turn and move a little bit and cut. I'm going to have to trim a little bit down through here, but I need to fill this gap. So I'm going to find me a little piece of scrap cutoff laying around here somewhere. Probably. Maybe a little piece like this right here. And that'll help me fill that gap so I can actually get that welded up. I'm not claiming that any of this is being done correctly. I'm not a welder. Well, I mean, I can weld, but not really. I'm a backyard welder. I would not do this for a customer, but for our stuff, it'll work. Eventually, I'll hire a real welder. One of these days, watch and see. Then we'll turn out some good products. Thought I smelled something burning. Turns out it was my shirt. But at least it wasn't my skin. I should probably get an actual welding jacket at some point. When the budget allows. Alright, that is welded up. There is absolutely nothing pretty about that weld, but it's all going to get ground down flat anyway. I'll do that later. I'm going to work on getting this lined up and welded. Well, basically welded. I got to do a little bit of trimming on this. Try to get the rest of this welded up. And then, actually, I'm going to have to tack this. I'm going to have to drill some holes and tack this down to the frame underneath so that I can get some of this warping out. Then I'll be able to slowly work down through here and weld this diamond steel plating back. But this will all get ground smooth later, and once I get it off, I'll flip it over, and I'll also weld up the back side. I may even add a plate on the back side to help span this weld and make sure it's plenty strong. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but over-engineer, not under-engineer, and it's less likely to break. That's my motto. So I'll do some more welding on the back of that later, make sure that's all welded and stout. Go ahead and work on some of this and trying to get this bed straight. Alrighty, so with the heat on this, it made our ends kick out opposite directions. So put a ratchet strap on this end to pull these back together. That's got my 2-inch space, 2-inch cross piece hitting where it's supposed to hit here. And these are overlapping a little bit. The spacing's looking pretty good, but these plates are overlapping up here a little bit. So I'm gonna take the saw and run down through there and trim a little bit of that off so I can get those to go down. Then I should be able to climb up here and stand on that and get it all fairly straight, and then do some tacks all over that. Alrighty, I think I've got enough tacking done here and there to, I've done some tacks like this right here through into this 2-inch below. So I think I've got the front connected down enough, a few in between, the back's all tied together. So I think I'm ready to unbolt the C-channel and pull the whole bed off with the new frame and everything attached. So I'm gonna try to pull it off, and then I'm gonna flip it over, because then I'm gonna go through, clamp some stuff, and do a lot more welding on the bottom to tie the C-channel into the bed and the 2-inch square tubing, the cross rail. So 2 pieces this way, 2 pieces this way, and they all need to get tied in to the main part of the bed and tie the C-channel into this back plate here. So still a lot more welding to do, but I'm gonna try to pull it off and then flip it over, weld the back side, then I'll come back and finish welding the front side of the top. Then I need to weld the back side of this, and then I'm going to grind all this down smooth. So a lot more work to go. All right, I'm done for tonight. I got it down here flipped over. Got a lot more welding to do, but I'll probably hit that up tomorrow or the next day. All right, guys, next day we're back, and I'm gonna pick up right where I left off. Gotta clean up some rust and try to get all this welded up the rest of the way. Weld the back side of this. Lots of welding to do before this thing can go back on. So I'm gonna jump right into it with the grinder and the welder, see if I can get all this welded up. All right, I got some of the welding done here, and look who decided to show up. Yeah, Tim's still here, unfortunately for both of us. I got some of the welding done. I'm still working on filling the seam through here, and we've got some spots right in here that our C-channel didn't make it all the way to the back of the bed like we were hoping, partially because I added that plate on the back. So Tim's going to cut out some little spacers out of this 3-inch channel so we can fill that in, so we can tie. We need this base plate on the back tied to the main part of the frame we're building. So he's gonna get those cut out, weld those in, and keep welding up this gap, and then probably have some grinding to do, and then I think we'll be ready to flip it over. So get back to it. Alrighty, I am done with welding for now. Threw a little primer on some of these spots. I still got a little bit of welding to do once I flip it over. I'm gonna flip it over, and I got a little bit more on that center line to weld on the top side. So I think I'll flip it over, maybe do that. I'm about to wrap it up for tonight. I got some places to go this evening, so not gonna work super late tonight, but I'll try to get a little bit more done. I'm not gonna get it on tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Alright, got it flipped over. I will say I will be glad when I don't have to flip this thing over anymore. I need one more weld down this seam right here, and a couple welds over here, and then I think the welding on this thing is done. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld that up, get all my welding done, and then it'll be ready to go on. Alright, it is welded. There's not much pretty about it, but I'm gonna go with the saying from the Red and Green show: if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. That's pretty much the epitome of this truck. It's gonna be functional, but it might not look very good. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call it a night, and maybe tomorrow, me or Tim, if we have time, we'll throw this bed on, start getting it bolted back on, make sure everything's fitting good, and then we'll move on to the next step.